This is the brand new KingTone Buffer. Now the reason why most guitar setups need a buffer of some kind is because the output impedance of guitar pickups is relatively high. And this high impedance means it's very susceptible to capacitance. Now just like in your tone control on your guitar, as you roll your tone control down, it's actually shorting the top end via a capacitor, and this cuts the top end. But guitar cables and guitar pedals and even guitar wiring have a certain amount of capacitance, and this very quickly adds up. So if you have a couple of cables and you have a few patch leads and a couple of pedals, you end up with quite a high capacitance value, and this can roll a significant amount of the top end off your guitar, making it sound dull and lifeless and lack dynamics. Most guitar players will hear this and turn the treble up on the amplifier, or maybe turn the bright switch on. This often leads to a harsh, brittle top end rather than being very clear and natural sounding. The real trouble starts as soon as you turn one of the guitar pedals on, whether it's an overdrive pedal or maybe the fuzz pedal. The output impedance of that guitar pedal, now it's gone through the electronics, is relatively low. And that means that top end that you were losing before, you're now not losing. So this can make the pedal that you've just engaged sound harsh, thin and overly bright. The way to fix this issue is to add a buffer to the chain. This will not only bring back the dynamics and clarity that you were losing in your clean signal, but it'll balance out all of your other guitar pedals to give you a much more balanced, natural and pure tone. So the question is, do you need a buffer? So you might already have a buffer in your chain. So some guitar pedals have a buffer built in, which is always on, which means if you remove the battery, the guitar signal won't pass through the pedal. Now this is good and bad. It's good in the way that it does offer a buffer, but bad in the way that most of the buffers built into guitar pedals are not very good. So you would definitely benefit from a high quality buffer placed somewhere before that pedal. So let's look at the placement of a buffer. So pedals like a treble booster or a fuzz pedal like to see that very high impedance of your guitar. So it's always good to place a buffer after those pedals. Now overdrive pedals are interesting because they will sound a little different with a buffer in front of them or a buffer after them. With a buffer before the drive, it'll add a little glassiness and brightness to the drive, and most players do prefer this. If you prefer a more vintage, warmer sound, then place the buffer directly after the drive. Most guitar pedals can be placed before or after a buffer with no change in sound. So the KingTone Buffer is super small and it's designed to go on your pedal board and take up almost no space. It can be placed underneath the pedal board, next to one of the pedals, or even just above one of the pedals. The KingTone Buffer has a very high input impedance. This means it doesn't load your pickups down, which preserves the dynamics and clarity of your pickups. It also has a very low output impedance, which means it can drive long cables without being affected by capacitance. The buffer uses high quality audio grade components. It also has a solid aluminum CNC machined enclosure and internal illumination so you can tell when the device is powered on. So the KingTone Buffer is not only one of the smallest buffers you can buy for your guitar, but it's been solidly constructed to last a lifetime out of solid aluminum and using audio grade components. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below.